Leave it to the internet to take a line of dialogue and just absolutely run with it. Episode 6 of Gundam The Witch from Mercury left a little bit of a sting on a lot of people, and with Gundam taking a week break, it really does leave a lot of people to sit here and really stew on our theories around what's happening in this series. Now, for those that missed it, yes, technically in episode 6 of Witch of Mercury, we did have this one line from Belle where she says, "It's no use taking revenge for a 21-year-old," and then she's cut off. Now, for me, I was just thinking, okay, maybe it's something that happened 21 years ago, possibly not what happened in the episode 0 or the prologue. Maybe possibly she was talking about specifically Suetta's father, which apparently a lot of people are saying that's not the case because it's not talking about age, it's talking about a time span in Japanese. And there's a possibility that there's a little bit of a time difference here based on the fact that they were at Mercury, maybe years are different there, or possibly and more in the idea that maybe Suletta was put under cryosleep. That's why she's only 17 years old. But again, the direction that everybody else took it, and I noticed it in the comments for my last video, and it's just been pretty much all week, and unfortunately we're probably going to have another whole week of people really stewing on this, is the possibility that Suletta isn't Ericht Samaya, which was the assumption based on the prologue having this girl, Eri, who eventually goes off with her mother to Mercury, and then boom, 13 years later, she's at this academy. Again, doesn't line up with the 21 years. So what everybody's really kind of running with is if we take this 21 years as being exactly when this institute was destroyed and Suletta and her mother ran off to Mercury, then there's an issue here. And yes, I think the easy explanation is that Suletta / possibly her mother as well went under cryosleep at some point. But give people an inch and they're going to take it a mile, and they're going to dig and dig and dig and really put this into perspective. And I think, again, there's some validity here. The more I look at it, the more it seems plausible. And yes, that theory, for those that don't know yet, is that the girl from the prologue, Ericht Samaya, is not Suletta. Directly, it's not Suletta. The theory that we can really run with here is that after the events of the prologue, Elnora Samaya runs off with Ericht. They go to Mercury and something happens there. Now, based on this theory, my predictions is that she goes there to Mercury, and then at some point, because of how harsh Mercury is, Ericht dies. That's my hope. I don't want to say hope. That's the best case scenario, because the alternative is that Elnora just takes Ericht and infuses her into the Gundam. But my theory is that they go to Mercury, and unfortunately Eri dies, and then she places her brain or her soul inside of the Gundam. I can't pronounce his name. Rift. Whatever. Lefrift. I don't know, the Gundam that they had in the prologue. And at that point, it becomes Ariel. The Gundam is renamed to Ariel because now it has Eri inside of it. Yes, take Ariel. But not only that, but things get crazier because of what also happened in episode 6, where we had all of these gun bits that were flying around, and yes, at some point it looked as if Ellen was seeing them as children. So it even goes even further than that, in the idea that there's a possibility that every single one of these gun bits has another child inside of it. At the same time that Eri is placed inside of this Gundam, we also have the necessity of where does Suletta come from? And since, again, episode 6 really did solidify this idea that Ellen was a clone, that means that we do have clones in this world. Now, it kind of more put it in the idea that Ellen was sort of a refaced person, not necessarily a clone, but he was manufactured. He was bioengineered in some way. So there's a possibility that Suletta could have been, yes, it could have been an orphan, or she could have been somebody that was repurposed to be a clone of Eri. Again, because Mercury is so harsh, there's a possibility that there's a lot of orphans there, and then possibly Elnora would have found an orphan and, yes, changed her in a way that she'd look like Suletta. Or she could just found an orphan that looked like Eri. And then we cut to the current times, and that's the point in which Suletta, this clone / orphan that was changed to look like Eri, is shipped off to go to this academy. Now, why do I think this theory actually works out? Yes, it seems pretty obvious in the idea that this Gundam was renamed to Ariel, and it has Eri in it. Yes, if this 21 years was in fact the point in which the prologue happened, then that's more time than her going from age 4 to age 17. Again, episode 6 put a lot of emphasis on the idea of not just clones, but people being changed in order to look like other people. And yes, you can make the argument that Elnora / Prospera, why would she put her daughter into danger like this? But where I think a lot of people's theories really come true is things like, yes, apparently in the prologue, the Gundam itself, its version number on the screen itself said system version 2.0. Whereas as we jump to our current times, that thing says system version ES. Yes. Ericht Samaya. Now, yes, you can make the argument that it was repurposed to work for her, but why would you change it to ES? Why wouldn't you just have it to be 3.0? Yes, technically, I think after everything that happened, Elnora would probably see that this is Ericht. This is Eri's Gundam, and want to change it to fit her in some way. Repurpose the OS to work for her. Now, does Prospera / Elnora not see Suletta as her daughter? I don't think that's the case. She does show motherly love to her, and she does reference her as her daughter. I think there's a lot of theories out there that saying that she never references her daughter. Technically, you do have one scene when they have this conversation with Suletta, and Suletta was talking about having this date with Ellen. At some point, Elnora / Prospera, her assistant, says something effective, was that your daughter? She says, yes, she's enjoying her time at school. So she does reference her as her daughter. But it does make it very ominous that the last point of dialogue in the exchange between Prospera and Belle, as she's walking away, she does say, am I worried? Not at all. Ariel will surely win. I trust my darling daughter. Now, yes, she can see that, yes, Ariel is more powerful. It will win. And then that following statement is, I trust my darling daughter, as in I trust Suletta. But yes, you could make an argument that of why when Belle said, why would you have your own daughter pilot it? And she immediately changed the subject. You're much more talkative than you used to be. So do I think this whole theory holds weight? Yes. Do I want it to be true? No. Because, again, it can go as dark as you want it to go. Again, my mindset is the idea that they fleed off to Mercury, and unfortunately, Eri died there, and then she purposed her soul and her mind into the Gundam. But where it gets crazier from there and it gets darker and darker is this idea that she possibly did that with a lot of children on Mercury to make all these gun bits be their own children. And yes, technically Suletta does kind of refer to them as their own things. She says, everybody come with me. Let's go, everybody. She speaks to them as their each entities, not just this is Ariel. Otherwise, she say, come on, let's go, Ariel. The gun bits are kind of referenced as their own beings, which means that, yes, there's a possibility that Elnora Prospera put children in all of these bits. Again, reference the idea that Mercury is a harsh environment. She could have found a lot of children that died and purposed them into this Gundam. And again, how dark they're willing to get with this series with that whole aspect, that's going to be the question mark. Is it them finding some sort of spirit that they're able to place in this stuff, or is she putting brains into these things? Again, I would argue that either way is going to be super dark. But yes, technically seeing shots of Elnora opening up skulls and placing brains inside of these machines is a little more graphic. I think in the end, the most telling aspect of this entire crazy theory run is the fact that they were so willing to have Belle get cut off when she brought up the 21 years. Because she was going to say something, and she got interrupted. But I will say, in closing, this is a prime example of how much I really do harp on the idea of true translations in our content. Because how things are translated can mean so much stuff. There was probably an emphasis placed on this particular segment of dialogue. If this is true, if this is part of an opening of a theory, it's probably that this part was probably given a lot of emphasis that they translate it properly. Because there's stuff like this. It's stuff like this. These translations that really do mean the difference between opening the door for possibility, or again, like a lot of translators like to imply, the point in which they can let their artistry flow. It is very important that translators tread carefully when trying to put their own artistic feelings into shows, because things like this can get really lost. But anyways, let me know down in the comments what you think. Do you think Eddie became the Gundam? I totally forgot that the original Gundam from the prologue was named Lefrith or whatever. I really thought that that was named Ariel back then, so when everybody was saying that Eri was placed into it and became that, I was like, what are you talking about? It was always Ariel. But no, it wasn't. I think the fact that that name change was another dead giveaway. But yeah, let me know in the comments down below, what do you think of this crazy theory? Do you think that Eri was placed inside the Gundam? Do you think Prospera purposely took Eri and placed her in the Gundam before she died, or do you think she did it after she died? And do you think she just went to an orphanage and put a bunch of kids inside of gun bits? I mean, there is a possibility that each of the gun bits is also an aspect of Eri, but I think that's the whole purpose of why it's so powerful, is that they're each individuals. That's why whenever Ellen stunned one of the gun bits, it didn't affect the whole system, because they're each individual minds. But anyhow, I hope you guys enjoy this video. I was really going to wait until the next episode aired, and then I remember that episode 7 was going to be delayed, and I'm like, crap, I might as well make a whole video on it and do this. But It's fun. This is exactly why I like originals, because you don't have a source material. You don't have source material fans just blurting out everything. People are able to sit here and speculate and really dig into it. And I kind of hope that they don't reveal it too quickly. Like, let it sit for a while. Like, let this theory sit for a while. At the same time, I hope that they do see that everybody's already theorizing on this thing and they decide to change it up a little bit. Not that I want them to ruin the story and really kind of flub it up, but really twist with people a little bit. If we're already figuring it out, just twist it a little bit. But anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, if you did, make sure to hit that like button down below, comment, let me know what's about this whole situation. Subscribe to the channel if you've not already. I do news, reviews, first impressions, top list. If it's anime, it's pretty much here. Additionally, if you want to support this channel more and you like my content, I would greatly appreciate if you consider supporting us on Patreon. Our tips link or super thanks button down below. Greatly appreciate it, but it does. And y'all take care.